Okay, so welcome back, and we are looking at question number question paper B1, and we are doing question number 1.1.4. Right, and if you remember correctly, we had a strategy for quadratics, and I'm going to put it here again. It was no fractions, so use the LCD to get rid of fractions, and that's how we do it, a over b. And then we said number 2, we don't want any square roots, so square both sides. And then number 3 is you must get it into standard form and then solved by either factorization or formula, one of the two. And that's really the strategy that we will use each time. Okay, so what do we have over here? Now, so we're looking at question 1.1.4, and there's the strategy for quadratics. We don't want any fractions, we don't want any square roots, so we must square both sides to get rid of it. If it's a cube root, you cube both sides, and so forth, right? And then we get it into standard form, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, and then either use the formula or factorize to solve the question. So I'm going to look at the first one right now, and we are going to get question 1.1.4, and this has got x minus the square root of 2x minus 1, x minus the square root of 2x minus 1 equal to 2. Now, just on a new page, I want to talk about a negative square root. If I talk to you and I say this is minus 1, if I let the alpha equal the square root, 2x minus 1, then I will say negative alpha is equal to negative 2 root of 2x minus 1. So similarly, what I'm saying is if you've got an equation, for example, and you want to take this to the other side, which is commonly referred to as, then you're going to say, well, okay, that's minus 2, but I want the square root to be positive, so I'm going to take it to the other side. It's like taking alpha over, and it just becomes the positive root 2x minus 1. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, when we're comparing taking square roots over, you can take the entire root over. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to get a blue pen, and I'm going to start speaking about this. Now, the agenda with square roots, what you want to do is, when you deal with square roots, number one, this is the root strategy, right? I'm going to say root strategy. The root strategy is, firstly, you want to isolate the square root, right? And once you've isolated means you want it on one side with everything else on the other side. So we isolate the root, and then we get the following. And then secondly, you're going to square both sides. That's what we really want to do. We want to isolate the root and square both sides. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to say, well, okay, let me bring that 2 to this side. I'm going to get x minus 2. And let's take this entire root over to the other side. And then that would, or we can say what we're really doing is adding the positive square root to both sides. Positive root to both sides. So when I add the positive root, I get the following, 2x minus 1. Okay, so now to get rid of that, what we can do is, and I'm just quickly going to use a green pen to say, well, okay, what I do to the one side, I must do to the other. I square that side, and I square this side, and we get the following result. Let's go blue again. Here I'm going to get 2x minus 1 because the roots will cancel with one another, and on this side I'm going to get the square of a binomial. So let's quickly look at what is the square of a binomial. If I have a plus b all squared, this here is the first term squared, a squared, the last term squared, which is b squared, plus, take that one multiplied by that one to give me that, plus 2 times a times b. Okay, and similarly, so if I had to square a minus b, we take the first term squared, which is just a squared, and the last term squared, which is just b squared, and we're going to say, well, it's 2 times that, which will be minus 2 times b times a to ab. And let's take an example, for example, 4x minus 2y, and let's square that. Let us square that. Okay, so the first term squared is just going to be 16x squared. The last term squared is just going to be plus 4y squared, right? And then we're going to say 2 times 2 is 4, times 4 is going to be 16. And it's going to be a minus because it's 2 times minus 2 times 4 is minus 16 times x times y. So familiarize yourself with this as well. Okay, let's go one back and see what we're doing over here. X minus 2 all squared. So what we're going to do there is we square the first term, and that will just be x squared. Let's square the last term, and that's just going to be plus 4. And then 2 times 2 is 4 times x with a negative sign in between is minus for x. Okay, now let's get it into standard form. Right, what does the standard form want? Okay, I'm going to get x squared minus 6x plus 5 is equal to 0. And this here, we're simply looking for factors of 5 that we can add to give us 6. And that is really 5 and 1. 5 and 1, x and x. Right, and this here indicates, remember in the previous example we had a negative which showed us that the signs were different. Here the signs are going to be the same in the bracket. And then how do we know which sign to go for? Well, we look to the middle term for guidance. This says same signs, but the middle term is negative, so it's telling us that both signs must be negative. And now we can solve according to the zero product property that x is equal to positive 1 or x is equal to positive 5. And that is question 1.1.4.